We're taking a look at the crazy predictions that ESPN had for the New Orleans Saints in the 2025 season. Week 1 is here, so we're going to react to the preview that ESPN put out around the black and gold. So what we're reacting to specifically, we're going to take a look at the odds to make the playoffs, as well as the odds to win the NFC South, the projected wins, the biggest strengths, and the biggest concerns for this team. We'll also even take a look at some fantasy football insight in ESPN's bold prediction for the black and gold. It's a loaded video with a lot of great content, so I highly encourage you to stick around throughout the duration of this video. But ladies and gentlemen, on Sundays we wear gold, and the New Orleans Saints are rocking their gold jerseys week 1. Black lids, gold jerseys, absolutely fresh, wasting no time rocking the new threads. If you're pumped up for week 1 and you're excited to see these gold jerseys on Sunday, hit the thumbs up icon and like this video. This is crazy, ladies and gentlemen. ESPN absolutely disrespected the New Orleans Saints whenever it comes to the preview for this season. My name is Trizzy Trace Girouard. Thank you so much for tuning into Saints Now by Chat Sports. Let's waste no time and dive straight into the preview. The playoff odds for the New Orleans Saints, I'd say they're a lot better than what I would have given them. 17.1%. The ESPN also thinks that they have a 10.9% chance to win the NFC South. The Buccaneers are the team to beat, in my opinion. They've won it the last few years, so now it's up to the Saints, the Panthers, or the Falcons to try to dethrone Tampa Bay. Projected wins, they have New Orleans at 6.8. I want you to remember this number, and I want you to remember that number, by the way. Got a bone to pick with ESPN. The strength of schedule is the second easiest in the National Football League, and in 2024, ESPN, take the look at the record 5-12 for the New Orleans Saints. In my opinion, if you can get past 5 wins, that is a massive check mark in my book. I think you can consider this a successful season. And so when it comes to the New Orleans Saints being 32nd, I just have a hard time believing that they're not going to win 5 games. I think they're going to win more than 5 games. And remember, I told you to take into consideration that 17.1% playoff odds and the 6.8 win projection that ESPN gave the New Orleans Saints. I think that is absolutely ridiculous to call the Saints the 32nd team entering the season, considering the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and the New York Giants all had less projected wins and a lower chance to make the playoffs, according to ESPN. Fun fact, the New York Jets had a lower chance to win and make the playoffs than the New Orleans Saints, but they had 6.9 wins compared to the New Orleans Saints 6.8. So if you're going to be ESPN and you're going to be sitting here saying the black and gold are going to be the worst team in the league, maybe have the numbers add up. Maybe it'll be a little bit more consistent, because I just have a hard time sitting here agreeing with ESPN and really acknowledging that this is legit, because they're sitting here saying the Saints are going to be the worst team, but projecting less wins for multiple other squads. I have a bone to pick with that. Just my personal opinion. We got a lot more to discuss here on this video, including biggest strengths, biggest concerns, fantasy football insight, and a lot more. But it's time to take a look in the crystal ball. How many wins do you think the New Orleans Saints will have in 2025? Personally, I think 6 is the number to try to reach, because if you have more than 5 wins, then I consider this a successful year. And for what it's worth, I think this is a better squad than they were last season, considering all of the turnover, all of the coaching changes, and the new schemes and new play styles. Now, the biggest strength for the New Orleans Saints, according to ESPN, the safeties. And to be totally honest, I think that this entire defensive back group is really, really good. I don't know if I would call the safeties the biggest strength, in my opinion, but I will throw it to ESPN. Catherine Terrell does a phenomenal job covering the New Orleans Saints, and I think that she had some really, really interesting points. So let's take a look at those and get our reactions. The Saints have revamped their secondary, as 4 of their week 1 starters in the backfield from last season are gone. But the Saints made 2 solid signings at safety, adding Justin Reed early in free agency and getting Julian Blackmon after Tyrann Mathieu's departure. Reminder, Tyrann Mathieu retired right before training camp got started. Now, both become instant starters, talking about Justin Reed, Julian Blackmon, and bring veteran experience, while the rookie safety Jonas Sanker has had an impressive camp. This group didn't show signs of falling off in camp despite Mathieu's surprise retirement. I will say, I don't think that this is the biggest strength of the roster. I do however, think that this is a really, really solid defensive back group. The safeties as a whole, I really like that unit. But when you add in the cornerbacks to the fix as well, and you add them into the conversation, I think that this is a really exciting group. There's a lot of pop. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of really young talent. I'm really eager to see Kool-Aid McKinstry continue his development. I'm really pumped to see Quincy Riley take over as the cornerback opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry, and I think you have some really interesting depth with Rajon Wright in the fold. I really like Alontae Taylor. I think Ugo Amadi has been fairly reliable when his number has been called. So in my opinion, I do really, really like the defensive back group. I think it's a severely underrated squad when you're talking about the grand scheme of the National Football League. The New Orleans Saints, in my opinion, do field one of the best defensive back groups, but the biggest strength, in my personal opinion, has got to be the linebackers. I mean, when you talk about the depth, the top-end talent, you got Demario Davis, Pete Werner. Sure, I want to see Pete Werner take that step and really, really cash in on the contract if the Saints paid him. I want to see him be a dominant linebacker, but Demario Davis still one of the best in the biz, one of the best to do it. I really, really love number 47, Danny Stutzman. I would like to consider myself a dirty little stud. But I will also say, I think when you have Isaiah Stallbird in the mix as well, I think he's going to be a really effective special teamer too. And I think the linebacker rotation is going to be really exciting, not just in terms of how they contribute on the defensive side of the football, but also how they contribute in special teams as well. I think this is a really, really, really good squad. And for that reason, I think that is the New Orleans Saints' biggest strength, the linebacker group. Now, game day is just a few days away. I have a big, big task that I need your help. 49,000 subscribers by game day, so that way in week one, we can cross over 50K. 451 subscribers needed to reach our next milestone of 49,000. So help your boy out. Subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports if you want daily Saints content by Saints fans for Saints fans. Now, the biggest concern, according to ESPN, no mystery, the quarterbacks. For what it's worth, I think that's totally fair. I don't necessarily disagree. The quarterback conversation is one that recently just ended, and it's a conversation, at least for this season it ended, but I don't think that we are quite finished with making decisions in the quarterback room when we're having a conversation about the long term. I do think Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck deserve an opportunity to show whether or not they are the guy, but I will also say, if you have an opportunity to take one of those top quarterbacks and you have the option to raise the overall talent level of the offense, especially at the most important position in all of sports, the quarterback position, you take that opportunity because you don't want to be living in that world of drafting a quarterback in the top 5 every single year. Let's go to Catherine Terrell here on the quarterbacks and being a concern. The Saints took their QB competition through the preseason, an indication that neither Shuck nor Rattler had made an obvious case to win the job early. Last week, Kellen Moore announced that Spencer Rattler has won the job. The Saints didn't have a lot of depth at their skill positions last year because of injuries, and that remains the case beyond Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and Rashid Shaheed. That means the team will need Rattler to step up big to elevate the rest of the offense. And look, I do think that this is a really, really good opportunity for Spencer Rattler. Head coach Kellen Moore saying that they are not going to get into the QB debate throughout the season. Spencer is the starting quarterback, and Tyler is going to keep developing. Last year, you did not get the opportunity to see a fair read on Spencer Rattler to see if he is the guy. This year, you get that opportunity, especially considering he's starting early in the season, so not as many injuries at the beginning of the year, hopefully, that you will see at the end of the season. Hopefully, we just stay healthy altogether. But when it comes to Spencer Rattler, you have a healthy offensive line. You have healthy weapons. You have a new head coach. You have a competent play caller. You need to take advantage of this opportunity if you want to continue to be a QB1 in the National Football League. And the biggest key to success, in my opinion, for the New Orleans Saints offense, it does not come down to quarterback play. It does not come down to how the offensive line looks. It does not come down to whether or not Chris Olave can be an 1,000-yard receiver. It has everything to do with health. If health is a factor, then and it is a bad factor, then this will cause problems. If the Saints team does not have a healthy roster, then all of this goes to shit. If the New Orleans Saints pass catchers get hurt, That's the big concern. If the offensive line, God forbid, Eric McCoy deals with a severe injury, if he goes down, that is a major concern. If you have one of these quarterbacks get hurt, that is a major concern. The health is the biggest key to success for the offense in the New Orleans Saints this year. That is my personal opinion, and that is a strong belief. We're going to take a look at some fantasy insights, some hot takes, and a little bit more here on Saints Now by Chat Sports, so I highly encourage you to stick around. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, football is back. Week 1, Saints versus Cardinals. It'll be here before you know it. And guess what? If you're not ready for some football, I got something that'll get you absolutely fired up. Chubby's is here to help you get ready for game day with their NFL collection. Whether you're tailgating, grilling, or riding the highs and lows of the game from your couch, Chubby's has the officially licensed NFL gear to keep you looking like the ultimate fanatic. For a limited time, use our exclusive code CHATSPORTS for $10 off at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. Yes, that does include the NFL collection. Let the thighs out. Let the good times roll with Chubby's. They have bold designs featuring your favorite NFL teams. Chubby's game day gear isn't just comfortable. It's a statement, ladies and gentlemen. You can rep the New Orleans Saints in wildly comfortable polos, wave-making swim trunks, and gym-ready mesh shorts. Yeah, you heard that right. Swim trunks with your favorite NFL team's logo on them? Come on now. I know it's still hot where you're hanging out. I know you're still going to be hanging out by the pool, so make sure you can rep the black and gold with the freshest swimsuits in the whole wide world. All that information in the comments and description of this video. All the comfort and swagger you need to take on every touchdown dance, chest bump, and dramatic fourth quarter crash out. If you're not a jersey guy, this is an elite alternative. If you are a jersey fanatic, something tells me you'll love their NFL collection because whether you're invested in the game, your outfit should be too. And would you look at that? For a limited time, our friends at Chubby's are giving our listeners $10 with the promo code CHATSPORTS at chubbyshorts.com/chatsports. That's $10 off your order with the promo code CHATSPORTS, and that does include the NFL collection. Support the show and tell them we sent you. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's video from Saints Now by Chat Sports. I absolutely love Chubby's. You got to get yourself some gear. Make sure you click the link down below. Now, let's talk about the fantasy insight. Draft Rashid Shaheed. ESPN says if you want to win your fantasy football league, you go and draft the Need for Speed Shaheed. I will say, I think there's one player that I would draft over Rashid Shaheed if you want a Saints player that's going to help you win. I'm going to reveal that guy in a moment, but let's just hear out what ESPN has to say because I do think this is an excellent addition. If you guys want my opinion, I drafted Rashid Shaheed in my personal fantasy football drafts. Definitely recommend you do the same. ESPN as well says the receiver's 2024 season was cut short because of surgery to repair a torn meniscus, but he has the deep ball ability and catch-and-run juice to produce in the Saints system under Kellen Moore. In 6 games last season, Shaheed averaged 13.3 points per game, 17.3 yards per catch, and he can be schemed by Kellen Moore to test multiple levels of the field. For what it's worth, those are numbers for fantasy football in case you guys were curious. Now, I will say this over and over again. I will scream it from the mountaintops because I'm a firm believer in number 22. If you don't believe me, if you don't think that I've been on this hype train since the minute he signed as a UDFA, I highly encourage you, go check out the history. I've been very, very complimentary of this player for a long time because I'm a big believer. I think he is a player that is due for a massive breakout. It's just a matter of time before the rest of the league has the need for Shaheed, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe he is the most electric football player when he has the football in his hands. I think that the Kellen Moore can get really, really creative, not just in using him as a deep threat, but in using him on short and intermediate passes as well. Create that separation. Give him opportunities to get those yards after the catch. We've seen Rashid Shaheed be effective as a ball carrier, working out of the backfield as well. I'd like to see him do some of that. Utilize the jet sweeps. Create a lot of movement, create a lot of confusion because this wide receiver group and this offense as a whole has a ton of speed. And I think Rashid Shaheed being one of the fastest guys in the National Football League is a must-have if you're a Saints fan on your fantasy football squad. And I'll also say I think that he is a player that will be targeted heavily by Spencer Rattler. I think that he is a really exciting option to keep on your team. And for what it's worth, how could you not want Rashid Shaheed on your roster? The dude's going to be absolutely fun. But I do have a few other players to highly consider. The number one, if you want to win fantasy football, I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now, draft Blake Grupe. Draft Blake Grupe. This is a piece of advice I've given to every single person who's asked for it. If you want to win, Blake Grupe, he is Mr. Automatic from 50-plus yards. He is going to kick a lot of field goals. The New Orleans Saints offense has struggled big time with finishing their drives. Blake Grupe has been the guy who's come in on the field, kicked the field goal, gotten you 3 points, and able to keep the Saints in games. I do believe in Blake Grupe. Even if you do kick, a bunch of extra points, you're still going to be getting those points from Grupe. So 10 out of 10 recommend you draft Blake Grupe. I also think the defense and special team squad is going to be severely underrated. I do believe that this defense is going to be really, really good, especially those starting guys. The longer the defense has to continue to build that chemistry and go throughout the season, as long as they stay healthy, I think the Saints defense will be really good. Obviously, Alvin Kamara, go draft him. He's going to be the highlight of the Saints offense. He's going to be the leading force in that offense. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, definitely want to have some of those guys around. I would make an argument maybe for Juwan Johnson, but the lack of reliability is something that is concerning. But I do think he'll be heavily featured in this offense led by Kellen Moore. All of these guys have opportunities to score a lot of points. The defense, I think, is going to be really good as well. So those are some players. If you're big on fantasy football, you haven't had your draft yet, or you're trying to see which guys you want to bring in, I would recommend any of these options. Now, I want to ask you the question because I do think it's fun to have the conversation. Which players are you drafting in fantasy football? Are you taking Kendre Miller? I had a buddy who was like, I'm taking Kendre Miller because I just need a RB2. I need that extra flex guy. I said, maybe not the worst option to have as a backup guy. Rattler, Shuck, Taysom Hill, any of those guys on your team? I want to know which guys in the black and gold are on your fantasy squad. Now, to finish things off, we're going to talk about a bold prediction that ESPN had for this season. They said that Chris Olave will be a top 15 wide receiver in total fantasy football points. I think that he could have the opportunity to be a top 15 wide receiver in general, and that's a big, expectation. That's a lofty hope. That's a lofty prediction, but it's not a bold prediction for nothing. ESPN saying Olave will be a top 15 wide receiver in total fantasy football points. Concussions cost number 12 half of the season last year. Considering he is being drafted as wide receiver 40, it seems it's being forgotten just how good the young receiver has been in his short career. He broke 1,000 receiving yards in each of his 2 first years in the league and recorded a 75 open score or better, which is well above average, in all 3 of his NFL seasons. A big thing around this conversation, obviously, is the quarterbacks. How well will Spencer Rattler play? If Tyler Shuck sees the field, how well will he play? But I do think that Kellen Moore can give Chris Olave ample opportunities and ample chances to prove that he is one of the top wide receivers in the National Football League. If he's given opportunities to show how good he is, if he's given the ability to shine and thrive and make plays in this system, then we will see number 12 take this league by storm. For what it's worth, I went back and looked at a ton of my notes from previews and from last season and his rookie year, and the big theme that I always talk about with Chris Olave is please just give him more opportunities. Scheme plays up for him. Make the offense revolve around his skill set. Utilize the strength that he has. Kellen Moore has been known to do that throughout his entire NFL career, and I do believe that the Saints are set up for some big success with Kellen Moore as the head coach. I know it may not be sunshine and rainbows. I know the quarterback conversation is something that's concerning, but I think Chris Olave has all of the skills and all of the tools to be a really, really dangerous wide receiver. I think Rashid Shaheed can be an excellent complement, and when you factor in Devon Vele being your big-bodied receiver, I think that can take away some of those hits, and it can take away some of the pressure from some of these receivers. You factor in Devin Neal, Kendre Miller being contributors on the offensive side of football as running backs and as receiving threats, not just Alvin Kamara, but the rest of the offense as a whole. I do think that this is a squad that has some opportunity to do some really special things. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is a team that's going to go and win the Super Bowl. I don't believe that. But I think 6+ wins, I think establishing success early and creating that culture that Kellen Moore is trying to build, I think that right there is what should define success in his first year. And I do also think that we can look for a lot of these individual players to have some fun and make some really special things happen. And for what it's worth, it's not like the NFC South is the best division in all sports. God forbid a team has 8-10 wins. Maybe you can win the division. We'll remind you to give your boy a follow on social media. If you want more content in between these videos, I post on X, Instagram, and TikTok every single day. So be sure to give me a follow. The links are in the comments and description of this video, or you can just search up Trizzy Trace on any of these 3 platforms. More content coming at you throughout the week. Game day is here. As Danny Stutzman says, mustache means war. Might have to shave my beard into a mustache, Lopez. That might just have to happen. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.